So in this walkthrough, I'm going to show you how to add a mesh that maybe you missed, like a T-box. In this case, yeah, we'll do a T-box, and I'll show you what we're going to do. And we're also going to just change a mesh. And these two scenarios are very similar to each other. In both cases, we have to go back through Inkscape. Now I'm going to abbreviate a lot of this because, frankly, a lot of these steps are exactly the same that were done in previous videos. So I'm probably going to be doing a lot of pausing while things go through, but I'm going to walk you through basically going back through and doing a lot of these things. So let's go back in Unity. Let's just give you an idea of what we're going to be up to here. Let's see here. I'm just going to make some stuff up because I think we've actually done a pretty good job. Let's say, so this is hole one. Let's say that we missed a tee box, like a short, really short tee box that was like up in this area. So we got to add another tee box here. Okay. So I'll show you, we're going to add that. Also, for the sake of a later blend video tutorial, let's say that there was a let's say that there was a bunker right in the middle of the fairway here. So we'll add that bunker in the middle of that fairway. And then, so what? This is another, is this another, yeah, so here's I think this is hole two. And let's say on this hole, we missed, this is gonna be kind of wacky, but it'll be, let's say that we missed like like a rough patch that was in the middle here. I'm not sure why any course, but it's going to be good for an example. We're going to put a rough patch in the middle of there. And I'll also show you, I'll pick maybe one of these random bunkers. Maybe, let's see here, maybe I'll just change the shape of one of these bunkers. Okay, let's just, think from those perspectives. Okay, so I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to go in, I'm going to open up the existing Inkscape file that we used to do this. Okay, so here we are inside of Inkscape, and let me just zoom in here. We're going to make this quick. This isn't going to be an Inkscape tutorial because you've already seen one. We need to add a T-box over in this area. So I'm going to come back here to my B-spline tool, and I'm going to make sure that I'm just going to draw something out here, pretty rudimentary here. Make it really simple. Oops, I don't have a layer selected. Go to hole one. There we go. And let's change this to T-box. And then we said what? We wanted to put a bunker like right in the middle of this fairway. Just pick anything, right? So bunker here. Make it kind of bunkerish shape. And now we need to change this to bunker, of course. So where's my bunker? Here. So there's a bunker here. Look through my notes and what else we were going to do here. So in this hole, I think we were going to add like a rough patch in the middle of here. Now here's where we have to think. If we're going to put a rough patch in here, so let me just draw this. Let's just say there's going to be this area of rough in the middle of here. I've had a couple courses that have done this. Put rough, and then let's go here, and we said we said rough is right here. Now remember, rough does not have a blend. Okay, so we got it. What are we going to do here? Well, let's look at one of these other customs. So we got this custom 2 here. Actually, let's see, which ones are we using here? This was hole 99, but let's make that one a custom that has a blend. So this has a blend, so we're going to make that custom 2. All right, so we're going to make that custom 2. And then we said one last thing was we're going to change the shape of one of these bunkers, right? So let's just take this guy. And ooh, it looks like we got some interesting node stuff going on in here. It could be a problem. Like, what's up with this node? Let's see here. Ooh, it's like a double. Fix that. Let's just take this one and maybe bend it in a little bit more like that. Let's say, this one and bend that out. Just make it just a little bit different, right? So that's good. So all done. And so what do we need to do at this point? Well, oops, zoomed out a little too far. So first of all, we're going to save this, right? And then if you recall, we have to remove our satellite and save a no sat version. I'm going to do that now. I'm going to pause the video because I don't want to make these too long. That's all covered in past videos. So I need to do a save no sat version of this. So I'm going to pause and I'll be back. So then real quick, I've opened up the SVG upload form, email address, everything in here, Hershey Tutorials, the name, rough, deep for those things. Again, you guys have seen this before in the past, just quick summary. So I'm going to submit this. After I submit, I'll get the emails showing my progress and all that good stuff. So I'm not going to cover those again, but at the end of this, I'm going to get my blend file, my post mesh blend file, and I'm going to open that up inside of Blender. That will be after the pause. Okay, so now we're in Blender. I got my post mesh file back from Blender. I opened it up inside of Blender. I imported my terrain OBJ. I've already done that. I've also conformed my meshes. So I have my 3D meshes now. So you can see it is conformed to my terrain. I haven't done anything else in here. So I haven't tweaked my bunkers. I haven't done anything to my water bases. However, one thing I am going to do, because I forgot to do this the last time, is I'm going to go into my water planes and I'm going to hit all here and I'm going to add my water plane. I don't know if you recall earlier I said, oh, I forgot to add my water plane. So let's just do that now. So you can see I get my water plane added here. And that Z fighting you see, this awful looking water here, that's normal because it's actually sitting and it's fighting with some of the other things there. And don't worry, we'll fix that later inside of Unity. So now I have all my FBXs here. Now, I'm sorry, I don't have my FBXs yet. I'm getting ready to export them. So now if you recall, we have this folder in here. Actually, before we do any of that, let's do a file and let's just save this guy. So save as, and then I have to go back into my project folder, OpenCD projects, Hershey Country Club, and we're going to go into, where is it, OpenCD, and then it was this one, Hershey Country Club tutorial right there. So you can see the last time I worked on this was back in May. So that was the last time I downloaded one of these, and it's now mid-June. I've been slowly working through these tutorials. I'm gonna hit save. So I overwrote the old one. It's up to you. You might want to keep the old one, or I just like to overwrite it. And now what we're going to do is we're going to export our FBXs. Okay, so that's this one right here, and we're going to do export all. Now, before we do that, we need to make sure, first of all, if you recall, in that directory, and this is the blend file, let's see, this guy right here, this is the one that we just saved. So is it the right one? Let's see here. What's today's date? Yes, today's the 2nd or the 5th. So this is the one that we just saved. And remember, when we do an export, it's going to put them in this FBX folder right here. Well, what's in there right now? Well, right now is all the ones that we did from a few weeks ago. So we're just going to go ahead and Control A, and I'm going to delete all those out. So this is a nice, crisp, clean folder. Okay, nice and empty. Now I'm going to come back here. I'm going to move that to the side. I'm going to come back here and I'm going to export all FBXs. I'm going to tap that. And if I wanted to here, I could bring up my console to follow this as it's working. Don't know if I have to pause this. We don't have a lot of meshes going on, but sometimes this can take a few minutes. But if I go back into my FBX folder, you can see it's starting to get populated with all these. So here's all the new ones. Yep, and it is done. So at this point, we've got everything through Blender and we just need to move these things into Unity. Okay, so I'm going to pause and get set up to move these into Unity. So here we are in Unity. These are all the shapes that we had brought in recently. We haven't updated these yet. I just want to show you a couple things. So first of all, we have all of our meshes in our scene, right? So if I highlight, here's our water base. And then remember, this water base references the FBX here in our project folder. So this one would be this guy right here. So this water base, you can see references. If I go over here to the inspector, I should be able to see that it's referencing this spline, okay, inside of our project. So we need to replace all these things, okay, with the new ones. So how do we do that? Well, if you recall, the first way we did this was we had our FBX folder set up in Explorer. So this is the folder where we just exported all of our FBXs from Blender. So you can say 6.5. So these are the ones I just did today because today's June 5th. And we want to get them and replace all the ones in here. The problem though is let me show you what happens if I do that. Oops, I lost my window here. If I take this one, say, let's get an easy one to remember here. So 371, the T box, 371. So let me pull this over here and drop it in. And when I put that over here, let me do a search now for 371. Look what happened. I now have two 371s. This is the original one that I did a few weeks ago, and this is the new one. Unity will not overwrite the old ones. It'll append this little 1 to the end. Okay, that's not what we want. Now we have two meshes in here instead of the one that we just want to work on. Okay, so let me get rid of that. That's not what we want to have happen. So in this case, what we want to do is we want to bring up a Windows Explorer. So we've got our FBXs that we just exported from Blender over here in our FBX folder. And then over here, we've got our, in my case, my Hershey Country Club project folder, okay? And then in here, we have our project, our Unity project. So in my case, it's Hershey Country Club V4, and this is the base. And remember when we brought that in, I said, hey, rename this to your country club and keep the base number in there. So here we are. And if we come in here, we can go to assets and we open up assets. This is the same folder structure that we see here in Unity. So we have things like our terrain backup folder. There it is. And we can see those objects in here like our terrain and our sat overlay. But we also have our FBX folder, right? With all those FBXs in there. So now what we can do is we can come back. Oh, we got our course plane. Looks like some metadata was actually up. Oh, that was just the metadata upgrade. I don't want to confuse it. Metadata, you see these little dot metas. This is all stuff that Unity does. Don't need to worry about that, okay? But we're worried about are the FBXs themselves. So you can see my FBXs in here are all from May 30th. I want to replace it with these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do Control A over here in my FBX folder, the ones I just exported from Blender, and I'm going to move them all over here. And it should say, hey, do you want me to replace, I've got 155 items and the destination has 148 with the same names. I want to replace all those because I want to put these new ones in there instead, right? So I'm going to say replace, let that go. And then when it's done, we're going to click back here in Unity, and you're going to see that Unity is going to notice that we've got a bunch of new files in here, and it's going to start processing those. Okay, so it says hold on, it's looking at all those. Now what it's doing is it's updating that metadata that I showed, those files. It's taking a look at all this stuff, and you're going to see that automatically this is going to refresh with these new shapes that we brought in. Actually, not all of them yet. I'm going to show you here. 1 second. I'm going to pause while this is updating. Now what you're looking at are our new FBXs minus, okay, the ones that we just created. The reason being is the ones that we just created are in our prop store. They're in our project, but we haven't brought those over to the scene. The existing ones are pointing, okay, they're pointing back to the new meshes. Hence, we now have a hole in this fairway. We've got a hole in this rough for this new tee box. And if we go all the way out here, you'll see, in this case, we have a hole in this fairway from the one that we created. And this one has been updated. Okay, remember we made this one more of an aggressive shape. So this rough was updated to accommodate this. But this wasn't net new. The only thing we did was change that one. Okay, so that was already present in our scene. And since it's referencing, since this bunker here is referencing the new spline that we brought in, it changed the shape. But these ones are net new, so we need to get them into our scene somehow. And how do we do that? Well, we got two options. One is we could go back to Blender, and if we could remember what Blender named these, so if we go back into Blender And here's one right here. So I could highlight this. I can come over here to my hierarchy, press numpad 0 or numpad period, and I can see that that's custom mesh. That's 1265 custom 2. So here it is, 1265 custom 2. This was a little bit of a tedious way to do it, but I'm going to show you guys how I do this. So 1265 custom 2. So here they are. I'm going to highlight that. I'm going to highlight this guy right here. Sorry, hold down control. And now I'm going to drag them into my OPCD meshes folder. So there it is. And where is it? It's out here. Sorry, it was on the wrong one. So there it is. Now what are we looking at though? Well, we're still looking at this mesh. It just doesn't have the materials assigned. Why? Well, because we haven't done a set mesh on it yet. So we could do that in a couple different ways. One is I could right click on this and do restore to, let's see, restore default materials. And it's going to look in our set mesh setup for what material that is. And if I do that, well, what happens? Well, it's setting it up as our custom 2 default, which we really haven't assigned anything yet. It's still that purple. And the same thing with this right here. So that's one way that we could bring in these new shapes. The other way is we could just delete all these out, bring them all in and just run a set mesh again, okay, instead of doing these one by one. So let me see. If I come up here, I'm going to highlight this first one. I'm going to scroll down, highlight the last one, delete. Oh, did I miss one here? Which one is this? Ooh, I had some children in here that weren't right, so I messed that up. So that's when we had these children that we drag in. So let me remove that component. That can be problematic. It's a good thing we found that. Remove component. Okay, so now we're all blank again. Let's go back to our FBXs up here. Control A. Oops, I got some that are expanded here. So you can see I got 160 objects, but it looks like I got 2 that are opened up. Oh, there's one. And there's the other one. So let me do a Control A again. All right, now that's all cleared. Let me drag these over. You can see now it's my ugly materials again, but I can come up here to GSP, set mesh materials, load my theme. So my Hershey Country Club V4 Lush, load theme, replace materials, continue, because we're going to place all of them, right? I'm going to save it as the same one. Yes, replace. And now that's going to go through and replace all those. So let me just pause while that's working. So that is done. Let me close the set mesh dialog box. And now you can see a couple things here. One is we finally have water. Okay. Now it doesn't look great. We might have to, I don't think I did a good job digging this out. And that might be actually our next tutorial, which would be digging this out. If I come here and I raise this up, but you can see that my water plane isn't quite matching my water base. That's because I did not do a good job digging this out. I need to go back and finish that. So that'll probably be in the next tutorial. And this, okay, custom area right here has a blend around it. So we'd have to assign like a better looking material, which would most likely be rough. I think that's going to be in a subsequent video here coming up. But we do have our bunker here. All right, so there's the bunker. However, this blend is off. That'll be in the tutorial coming up on how to fix that, how to change that blend. And let me see, was there something else that I had done? Oh, I changed this bunker to a different shape. That's all done at this point. And this water base. So that's it. So now you guys know how to go back and add a shape. It's not exactly easy, okay, but it can be done. And hopefully that helps you out.